and welcome back to Belle's Books. This is just me popping in to say hello and welcome back to my channel. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content. You can also check out my Instagram at Belle's Books or my website www.bellsbooks.co.uk. Today I have an extremely exciting video for you. I am going to be interviewing the author of The Henna Wars, this amazing young adult romance novel that was recently published. So let's head on over to that interview now. Hello, it's so nice to meet you.
You too.
Of course, my first question is one for the viewers because I know who you are already, but could you introduce yourself and The Henna Wars?
So my name is Adiba Jaigirdar and I'm a writer and I'm a teacher and I like writing about queer brown girls. So The Henna Wars is my debut novel. It just came out, it's been more than a month, it's been like 2 months already. So this is The Henna Wars. It's about a girl called Nishat who is Bangladeshi, she's Muslim and she's a lesbian. And she's navigating a few different things. So she's dealing with the fallout of coming out to her parents as a lesbian, while at the same time she's dealing with a girl that she has a crush on, appropriating from her culture in a competition, a school business competition where they're both running rival henna businesses.
So The Henna Wars is obviously a romance novel, but it's also a young adult novel. And I was wondering if there was a particular reason that you chose to write in this genre and for this specific audience.
I chose to write, I guess, for a young adult audience because when I was a teen, when I was Nishat's age, I didn't read any books about people of color, about queer people, about Muslim people, about like any of those things. So I found like my school library or my local library was really lacking. I think when I was like maybe 15 or 16, I picked up like one book by a person of color. What I wanted to do, I guess, I wanted to really write this book for a younger me, also to like the kids who are like me now and who do have like a lot more books exploring these things, but still not enough. And in terms of romance, I just really like romance. It's like, I love reading it. It's actually my first romance novel, The Henna Wars. So it was a really enjoyable experience for me to write it and I'm looking forward to writing more of them.
So there will be more. That's exciting news. So this kind of ties into what you were just saying about writing for like a younger you. When I was reading your book, I found that your portrayal of teenage girls and like their speech, the way they talked, was so realistic. It reminded me of conversations that I had when I was in high school. I was wondering if like writing this realistically came naturally to you or you had to consciously develop the style.
I didn't really consciously develop anything, but I don't necessarily think it was subconscious either. I guess it was probably like a mix of the two things. So with The Henna Wars, I really started writing it once I had like the voice of the main character, Nishat. And once I had her voice, I felt like I could kind of go into the book and I could write it through her voice. And that just kind of came to me very naturally. Like I was thinking about the book, I was thinking about what I wanted to write. And I was also reading a lot of young adult novels. So I was reading like When Dimple Met Rishi, Sandhya Menon, Jenny Han, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. That really helped me kind of capture Nishat's voice. But also at the same time, you know, I have like a little sister who's a teenager. I have a lot of cousins who are like quite a bit younger. So I think just kind of knowing young people also helps me, I guess, tap into that voice.
Yeah, that's really valuable, I think, because sometimes you do read young adult books and they're just not how people talk.
I think especially, I guess, when you're an author who hasn't been a teenager for a long time, that can happen as well. But like, I mean, I guess for me, like, I'm obviously an adult, but I'm still like young enough that I remember my teenage years quite well. So
Yeah.
that helps too.
So I noticed that Nisha and Preeti have an especially close relationship. They always resolve their disagreements and their bond is like always restored. I was wondering if this relationship was inspired by a real relationship of your own.
Not specifically a relationship of my own, but like I said, I do have like a sister. I have an older brother. So my sister is like 10 years younger than me. So it's a very different relationship. But my brother is actually only 2 years older than me. So, you know, we grew up together, but we fought a lot. So our relationship also very different from the Shaz and Priti's. But growing up, I had a lot of cousins. So I probably have like 20 or 30 like first cousins. I spent a lot of time with them when I was in Bangladesh. So just getting to know them and seeing what their sibling relationships were like. So I think just being able to see so many different like kinds of relationships and like their dynamics, that really helped me kind of put together this relationship.
I love that it was inspired by your family. Obviously, you said that you spent time in Bangladesh growing up, and there's a really strong theme of weddings throughout your novel. And a Bengali wedding is the inciting incident for Nishat's coming out. And I was wondering why you chose to include this focal point in the novel.
I always say that there are two important things in Bengali culture. One of them is food and one of them is weddings. And I say it as a joke, but it is true. When I go back to visit Bangladesh, even if I go like just for a month, I have to attend like so many weddings. It gets ridiculous. And our weddings are like really big. You invite like basically everyone you know. I think writing a book with a Bangladeshi character, it's important to kind of include that. It made sense to me because it's such a big part of our culture. But at the same time, I guess because weddings are such a big part of our culture, I guess I wonder like how does it affect different people, and especially how does it affect queer people who have to grow up, I guess, knowing the importance of weddings in a culture that doesn't necessarily accept them. Obviously, at the beginning of the book, Nishat decides to come out because she thinks she can't make her parents happy in the way that this wedding is making them happy. And she realizes that if she had a wedding, it would look very, very different. And she wasn't sure how her parents might react to it. I think it was really like all of those things. I think probably a lot of Bengali kids have these kinds of feelings and they wonder, like, where do I fit into this? Where does my love or my attraction fit into this culture?
That's really powerful, especially since it's what you begin the novel with, like this kind of sense of loss and like self-awareness. Nishat is bullied at her school because of both her race and her sexuality. And I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about whether you think bullying is a global issue and what the key causes of this type of bullying actually are.
I definitely think that bullying is a global issue. I mean, we see it everywhere. And I think a lot of people have dealt with bullying. I think there's a difference between different types of bullying. What Nishat faces is racism, and she faces homophobia, and she also faces Islamophobia. And I think the causes for those specifically would be different from other types of bullying that other kids might face. And I think when it comes to kids and teens who hold these beliefs and who perpetuate these kinds of ideas and actions, I think it's learned behavior. Racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, it's all systemic. We see it in our systems. And I think when you grow up and you see the system and you see people catering to it, that changes how you view certain people and it changes how you view certain things. If you see like your parents behave a certain way towards people, I think you emanate that. When it comes to like racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, it's not ignorance. It's a deliberate thing. It's bigotry.
Yeah. So alongside all this bullying, Nishat is struggling with her own identity. She is a Bengali daughter, she's a Muslim, and she's also a lesbian. And she eventually does process those identities. But I was wondering if you could offer a piece of advice towards someone who might be struggling with something similar or going through that kind of situation.
I think it's really difficult to find that reconciliation. A lot of people believe that those things are like working against each other, especially like being Muslim and being queer. Growing up, I felt like, there were a lot of spaces that I didn't fit into, that I had to choose which identity to kind of favor. And I know that, a lot of teens nowadays feel that way too. I guess my advice would be, if somebody is making you feel like that, they're not really worth your time. They're not worthy of you if they think you need to choose certain aspects of your identity in order to fit in. And there will be people who make you feel like that. But, you need to learn that you are important as all the parts of your identity, not just one or the other.
I think that's really powerful. Don't make yourself smaller for anybody. That's such good advice. So my next question is a little bit different, but I did wonder this throughout the whole novel. Are you a henna artist and can you do henna?
No. And I wish I could, because I did try to teach myself, but it wasn't successful.
Oh, so your art just lies in writing. That's so cool though, that you were able to write about it without actually being able to do it yourself.
It's like a big part of my culture. Usually in like Bengali families, you have like the one person who can do henna, and they do henna for like everyone. So for me, it was my cousin, my older cousin, and she did like everybody's henna all the time. So I think when you grow up around that, it's easy.
When Flavia appropriates Nishat's Bengali culture when she sets up her henna shop, there is a really big difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. In your opinion, how could a person best culturally appreciate Bengali culture?
The best way to appreciate or celebrate another culture is to be invited into those spaces. For example, obviously, when Flavia goes to the wedding and she sees the henna and she decides, I can do it, that is appropriation because she hasn't necessarily been invited into that space. But it's not appropriation for her to go to that wedding and to be wearing traditional Bengali clothes because she has literally been invited into that space. And I think you need to be, interacting with people from that culture. If you read the Henna Wars, that is, a type of appreciation of Bengali culture because it is about Bengali culture. But then if you read the Henna Wars and you decide, well, I'm gonna start my own henna business, even though henna isn't a part of my culture, that would be appropriation.
That's such wise advice. Wow. What book are you reading currently?
So currently I'm reading The Blaze Rat Games by Amparo Ortiz.
Ooh.
So have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
It's really, really good. It's a contemporary fantasy book. It's about a sport that has dragons in it. So in this world, there's like dragons in every country and they bond with like humans. And this main character, her dream has been to always compete in the Blaze Rat Games. But the year that she decides to compete, this person who used to be a dragon and they're kind of causing all of the chaos. So the same year that she gets accepted into the Blaze Rat Games, all of this is going on. And if she wants to compete, she needs to kind of figure out what is happening and kind of unravel like this international conspiracy in the world.
I have never read a book like that before. That's such an original idea.
I've never read a book like this either. And it's so diverse and it's so like international. And it's just amazingly done. It's brilliant. I'm loving it so far.
I'm gonna have to read that. So my last question for you is, if you could give one piece of advice to one of your readers, one of the readers of the Henna Wars, what would that be?
The advice I would give them is what Nishat learns as she is going through her journey, which is that it's important to accept and love yourself, even if people are telling you that it's not okay to do that. She is still very confident in who she is. She loves who she is despite everything. And that's a really difficult thing to achieve. But I think it's a really important thing to have because that self-love and that self-confidence is what's going to get you through those hurdles.
That's fantastic. Thank you. What a great end for the interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I just wanted to pop on and say thank you, and also that I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you'd like more like it. Have a great day. Bye.